Yes, I think we need to talk about this. I saw the article, I ignored it, but I think I need to talk about it. And this person is called Celia Walden, and she wrote a Telegraph column. But before I speak about the column that she wrote, we need to set the context here. Celia Walden is married to Piers Morgan. Yes, the same Piers Morgan who left Good Morning Britain in 2021 after refusing to accept any editorial guidance about the relentless and sustained nature of his on-air attacks on Meghan. He's still attacking her, by the way. He is the man who has dedicated a significant portion of his professional output for the last decade to targeting a woman he met briefly and who did not respond to his overtures with any enthusiasm. I still do not believe that they met. I honestly don't, because he went into detail of, she had this drink, I had that drink, we met at a pub, I put her in a taxi, and she went on to meet Harry. Now, I do not believe that because, number one, the Sussex Bureau of Investigation sleuths have uncovered that his whole timeline is a lie. And also, he is one of these men that takes photos with everybody that they meet that is a celebrity or a star. And he was a Meghan superfan because of her role in Suits. So at the end of the day, how he would not even have one photograph as proof of that meeting is beyond me. So I do not understand his obsession, to be honest with you. I know people say, well, maybe he expected to be invited to the wedding and blah, 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 blah. I think there's a lot more to it than that, because when you look at the history of him stalking younger women until they meet with him, and I can give examples, one of the most, I think, examples that I can think of off the top of my head was what he did to Ariana Grande. He hounded that girl, really hounded, blasted her, did everything to her in the press until she finally met him for a sit down. So that's always been his way, forcing people into submission. He will keep going at them. His shenanigans, his past life is very well known. How that man can still have a voice after all the disgusting things he did from his years as editor of certain national newspapers, I truly do not know. This is just me. I believe he has something he holds over people. That's what I believe. He's a keeper of the secrets, and he has things he's probably held over people. And yeah, to think that he hounded Diana and claiming, he met Diana, Diana brought blah, blah, blah for lunch. And, they're just intergenerational bullies and disgusting people. So his wife, second wife also, I don't know, don't care. She has also decided to join in the abuse. And his wife, Celia, has written a column telling Meghan to stop complaining. And her column was triggered by an astrology post. So I did a video about the astrology post that Meghan posted about a certain of the last 7 years or thereabouts. Things were hard, things were difficult, but now she's coming into a better period and she's coming into her own. And, so again, that was all Meghan posted. And Celia has now decided that, that's Meghan complaining. So she has a right to write a column about it in the Daily Telegraph. And we know that Meghan shared the content on her Instagram stories. So it's optional. If you choose to look at her Instagram stories, that's on you. And all Meghan, in my opinion, all Meghan did was share a horoscope, and she tagged Spirit Daughter, which is an astrology account. She is a Leo. She posts a Leo content. This is the kind of thing that approximately, 400 million Instagram users do every single day. And it doesn't generate a full-length column in a national newspaper. But it doesn't matter what Meghan does. Even if Meghan does nothing, those who want to write columns bashing her will still do that. And they've been doing that. And Celia's column describes Meghan as hammering home her personal hardship. And I'm thinking, huh? Where? How? And it lists every interview and every public statement that Meghan made about her experience over the past decade. And it suggests that there's a statute of limitation on whinging. It says Meghan will be 99% more appealing if she dropped the complaining. It calls the astrology posts more of the same. So let me address the statute of limitation argument directly. Because I like diving into the thing. And sometimes when these people write these columns, they actually, it's a self-defeating column because they provide actual proof of the very thing that they're writing against. So let's go into it. So we know Meghan has spoken publicly about her experiences. She spoke in the Oprah interview, in the Netflix documentary, and she's done a couple of other interviews as well. Fine. And she is still speaking about it because in the most recent event that she did at the Beta Mental Health in Melbourne, she told young people that, look, I'm the most trolled person in the world for the last 10 years, and I'm still here. And yes, she told them that as an example of, I'm still here, you guys, you are mentally resilient, and she used it as an example of, if I'm still here, you guys, you've got hope, kind of thing. And I think the argument that Meghan should stop talking about what happened to her is being made by a woman whose husband has not stopped talking about Meghan for the last 10 years. So you want Meghan to stop talking about the ill treatment while you and your husband are still suppliers of that ill treatment. And we know that Piers Morgan has mentioned Meghan in significantly more public contexts than Meghan has ever mentioned Piers. I doubt Meghan has even said his name ever. He has dedicated television programs, newspaper columns, podcast episodes, and social media posts to her. He has not reached his personal statute of limitations because he is still going. The column acknowledges, almost despite itself, several things that contradicts its own central argument. Celia writes, and I think this is the crux of the thing. I think this is what hurts her to her very core. Celia writes that Harry and Meghan are still very much in love. Yes, Celia, we know how it is when very unloved women and unwashed women of a certain ilk, when they look at Harry and Meghan, yes, we know it hurts you to your very core, to the very marrow of your bones. But Harry and Meghan are in love. You need to deal with it. And also Celia writes that Harry and Meghan have beautiful children. Yes, they do. They do have beautiful children. And you cannot see their faces. And we know that hurts you as well. And Meghan can continue to live out one ambition after another. And that her current life looks pretty good to most people. I told you we'd get to the crux of the matter. You are hurt and upset that despite everything that's been thrown at her, she is in love, she is rich, she is living a good life, and she is thriving, while you are not. You are stuck with your husband and the pool boys. Yes, we've heard about that. Yes. And these observations that Celia made, they're correct. They are also the answer to the column's own question about why Meghan is still talking about what happened to her. Because she is still talking about it, Celia, because it is still happening. And your column, the column I am dissecting right now, is proof of that. It is still happening. Because the 70 Daily Mail stories in 19 days says it is still happening. The Express calling birthday candles disgusting is still happening. The Spectator piece calling for Harry to divorce Meghan and marry a white woman, it means it is still happening. Yeah, get that. Yeah, maybe you will get that into your head. That the reason Meghan will always talk about it, and she is at liberty to talk about it. She is a free citizen. She is a private citizen. She has the right to talk about whatever the heck she wants, just like you have the right to write your crap columns for the Telegraph. So at the end of the day, the pressure does not lift because a commentator decides that, oh, the statute of limitations has been reached. The pressure lifts when commentators like yourself stop talking about her. That's all you have to do. Of all the topics you could write about, you chose to write about Meghan sharing an astrology thing, a horoscope thing. That was your choice. And you used that as an opportunity to hound her. So I want her to keep talking. In fact, in my opinion, Meghan has been extremely restrained. I am not Meghan, and yet I still talk about the wrong that you do to her every day. And I am not her. I'm just a neutral bystander. I do not know her. And I'm so pissed off about it. So yeah, at the end of the day, your column proved the point that Meghan made in Melbourne. Because you, Celia, are part of a $1 billion industry predicated on cruelty to get clicks. And that $1 billion industry, like Meghan said, is not going to change. So, we, and I mean Meghan, and everyone who is affected by people like you, Celia, we have to be stronger than you. And then, yeah, at the end of the day, you still went out and wrote your hit piece, thinking you had done something. But maybe, just maybe, the attention that your husband gives Meghan and the attention that you give Meghan, maybe if you put that into your marriage, into your relationship, you would be a happier person. But you will never be happy. And I'm not saying that out of whatever. Your ilk, your kind of people, you will never be happy because you cannot be happy. You cannot be happy when you are causing another woman tears. You know, happiness built on somebody else's tears never ever lasts. So you will never be happy. That's not a curse. That's a matter. It's a fact. And it's a promise. So until you and your husband stop, you stop with your vendetta, you stop with your one-sided beef and find something productive, constructive to do, you're going to be mired in misery. And that is the truth of the matter. But well done, Celia, for adding to Meghan's SEO. Well done for adding to Meghan's relevancy. Because every column inch, every podcast, every social media post, every TV show is adding to her relevancy. And that is why you cannot quit her. Because her life is the life you wish you were living. And it's a life you feel entitled to. But unfortunately, you are stuck with one of the worst people in the world for a husband. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, please. My name's Elizabeth. I'm the author of The Luxpreneur. And for more insights like these, please like, share, comment. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, please. And, sorry, really bad hay fever recently. Really, really bad. And, excuse me, make sure you are subscribing to the right channel, which is Elizabeth Solaru 4970. And to support my work in holding truth to power, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Elizabeth Solaru, or you can get a copy of my book, The Luxpreneur, from Amazon, Waterstones, or Barnes and Noble.
Piers Morgan's wife writes column, telling Meghan to stop complaining, and proves Meghan's point in the process. Celia Walden, who is married to Piers Morgan, the man who has dedicated the better part of a decade to publicly targeting Meghan in television programmes, newspaper columns, podcast episodes and social media posts. The man who walked off Good Morning Britain rather than accept editorial guidance about the relentless nature of his on-air attacks. The man whose coverage has been cited in academic papers on coordinated harassment campaigns has written a column in The Telegraph telling Meghan to stop complaining. The trigger for this column was an astrology post. Meghan shared a horoscope on her Instagram stories. She tagged an astrology account. She is a Leo. She posted Leo content. This is behaviour engaged in by hundreds of millions of Instagram users every single day without prompting a full-length response in a national newspaper. Walden's column invokes a statute of limitations on Meghan's whinging, lists every public statement Meghan has made about her experiences, and suggests she would be significantly more appealing if she simply dropped it. And yet, the argument that Meghan should stop talking about what happened to her is being made by a woman whose husband has never once reached his own statute of limitations, who is still going, who has never stopped, and whose wife just proved in print, on his behalf, in The Telegraph, every single word Meghan said in Melbourne about an industry predicated on cruelty. The column meant to silence her instead confirmed her. Still going. No limitations in sight. Celia Walden's self-defeating column proves exactly what Meghan said about the billion-dollar cruelty machine. Piers Morgan is the man who walked off Good Morning Britain in 2021 rather than accept a single word of editorial guidance about the relentless, sustained and frankly obsessive nature of his on-air attacks on Meghan. A man who has dedicated a remarkable and rather telling proportion of his professional output across a full decade to targeting a woman he met briefly and who declined to find him as fascinating as he found himself. A man whose coverage of the Duchess of Sussex has grown so extreme, so voluminous, and so methodically hostile that it has been cited not merely in passing, but as a primary example in media literacy analyses, in academic papers examining coordinated harassment campaigns, and in multiple serious journalistic investigations into the organised and sustained pattern of press coverage directed at Meghan Markle. That man's wife has written a column in a national newspaper telling Meghan to stop complaining. About an astrology post. Piers Morgan's wife wrote a self-defeating column bashing Meghan, thereby proving Meghan's point. The column was triggered by an astrology post. Meghan shared content on her Instagram stories about Leo season and the pressure lifting on April 25th. She shared a horoscope. She tagged Spirit Daughter, an astrology account. She is a Leo. She posted Leo content. This is the kind of thing that approximately 400 million Instagram users do every single day without generating a full-length column in a national newspaper. Millions of people share horoscope content, tag astrology accounts, and celebrate their star signs without attracting a single word of media scrutiny, let alone a dedicated response piece in a broadsheet publication. The response was, in every measurable sense, entirely disproportionate to what actually happened, which was a woman posting an innocuous piece of astrological content to her own social media account, the way ordinary people do without incident, every single day. Piers Morgan's wife writes column, telling Meghan to stop complaining, and proves Meghan's point in the process. Walden's column makes a central argument that is worth taking seriously before taking apart. It suggests that Meghan has been discussing her experiences for long enough, that there is a statute of limitations on whinging, and that at some point a person is simply required to move on and stop bringing it up. It goes further than that, actually. It tells Meghan that she would be 99% more appealing if she dropped the complaining altogether, that her continued willingness to speak about what happened to her is the problem, that the solution, if she wants to be liked, is silence. The appeal being offered here is conditional, and the condition is that Meghan stops describing her own life to people who ask about it. This is the argument. An acceptable time frame for discussing personal hardship exists, Walden says, and Meghan has exceeded it. What Walden does not say, and what the column does not grapple with even briefly, is who gets to set that clock, who decides when it runs out, and why the person setting the limit happens to be married to the man who has been running his own clock in the opposite direction for 10 uninterrupted years with no signs of stopping. Piers Morgan's wife writes a self-defeating column bashing Meghan, thereby proving Meghan's point. The argument that Meghan should stop talking about what happened to her is being made by a woman whose husband has not stopped talking about Meghan for 10 years. Piers Morgan has mentioned Meghan in significantly more public contexts than Meghan has mentioned Piers Morgan. He has dedicated television programs, newspaper columns, podcast episodes, and social media posts to her. He has not reached his personal statute of limitations. He is still going. Piers Morgan's wife wrote a self-defeating column bashing Meghan, thereby proving Meghan's point. The column also acknowledges, almost despite itself, several things that contradict its central argument. Walden writes that Harry and Meghan are still very much in love, that they have beautiful children, and that Meghan can continue to live out one ambition after another, her current life looking pretty good to most people. These observations are accurate. They are also entirely without meaning to be the answer to the column's own question about why Meghan is still talking about what happened to her. If her life is full of love and ambition and beautiful children, then the woman is not defined by victimhood. She is someone who experienced something, continues to experience something, and speaks about it honestly while also getting on with her life. The very evidence Walden marshals to suggest Meghan should be satisfied and therefore silent is precisely the evidence that explains why she has the strength and the platform to keep speaking. Piers Morgan's wife writes column, telling Meghan to stop complaining, and proves Meghan's point. The 70 Daily Mail stories in 19 days are not ancient history. They are not a grievance from a previous era that Meghan is dragging unnecessarily into the present. They are the present, the ongoing coverage, the columns, the think pieces, the birthday candle stories, the spectator pieces calling for Harry to divorce her and marry a white woman. All of it continues to be published, continues to circulate, continues to constitute a sustained and coordinated pattern of negative coverage that does not pause, does not rest, and does not observe any statute of limitations of its own. Walden's expectation, implicit throughout her column, is that Meghan should reach a point of acceptance and silence, while the machinery producing the content Meghan is expected to accept in silence keeps running at full capacity. The pressure does not lift because a columnist in a national newspaper declares that enough time has passed and enough has been said. The pressure lifts when the people applying it decide to stop, and the people applying it have not stopped. They wrote 70 stories in 19 days. and then they wrote a column about an astrology post. And they are still going. Piers Morgan's wife writes a column bashing Meghan and proves Meghan's point entirely. The column itself is the evidence. Whatever Celia Walden intended to write when she sat down to address an astrology post, what she actually produced is a precise and detailed demonstration of the exact thing Meghan described in Melbourne. The billion-dollar industry predicated on cruelty to get clicks. That is not an abstraction or a grievance or a piece of self-serving victimhood narrative. It is a Telegraph column published in response to a horoscope. It is a national newspaper dedicating editorial space, a columnist's byline, and a readership's attention to the crime of a woman posting Leo content on Instagram. The industry Meghan named continues, visibly and without apparent embarrassment, doing exactly what she said it does. And Walden's column, whatever its intentions, is a data point in that pattern rather than a rebuttal of it. Meghan stood in front of young people in Melbourne and told them we have to be stronger than the system. She came home and posted an astrology story. The system responded with a column in a broadsheet newspaper. And in doing so, it validated every single word she said, not eventually, not in retrospect, but immediately, completely, and in print.